Now we're going to finally get to the for loop. So public class for loop example. All right. So to understand the for loop is to understand the while loop again. So we're going to do int num equals, let's say 0, and where you want this loop to go, num is less than 10. So we're going to have a loop 10 times. System out print line num. And of course, we got to make sure that we have num plus plus so that we don't have an infinite loop. And that's always a good thing. All right, so in this case, we want to go 10 times. We know that. We know exactly what we want to do. We'll save it. Exact same place. All right, sounds good. And we'll run it. And we can see 0 through 9. Very nice. So what's annoying about the while loop is that if I already know how many times I want to go through this loop, I have to, outside of the loop, create the initializer. So I have to initialize, how do you spell initialize? Initialize the variable. And right here, I have to increment, or decrement, change it in any case, decrement the variable. And I have the actual Boolean condition of whether this should continue on or not, right there. Well, with the for loop, I could do all of that in one spot. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type int index equals 0. Now, just so you know, index is such a common variable that it is usually shortened to I. So I usually stands for, I is short for index. And so what we have is an I, and then I've got to increment I plus plus. And I've got to do this whole I is less than 10 thing. But, let me throw this onto the middle line, right there. I can put all of this together at one spot with a for loop. There we go. Get that right there. Wrap this in some parentheses and start a curly brace, and then a for loop. There we go. So a for loop, if you look at it, is identical to a while loop if you know how long you want to do it. So with a for loop, I get the chance to initialize it at the top, have my Boolean expression right there in the middle, and I can increment it or decrement it or whatever I want right there. It's very compact. It's very nice. So I will comment out my while loop, and I will run the for loop. I have problems. Oops. The semicolon is a common mistake. You can't have that semicolon there. Otherwise, you do need a semicolon here, and you do need a semicolon here to separate those out. So semicolon. And of course, it's not num anymore, it's I. So compile that, and then we'll run it. Yay! 0 through 9. So a for loop is a compact while loop. If we were to take this part out, or take this part out, then a while loop and a for loop would be exactly the same. In fact, if I wanted to, I could, for whatever reason, put my I equals 0 semicolon up there, take this out, and have a semicolon there. And the only difference is I have to have a semicolon here. And then a for loop acts exactly the same as a while loop. There we go. But the point of a for loop, of course, is convenience, is to be able to put everything into one little space. So I'm initializing the control variable, I'm checking things out, and I am incrementing or decrementing or changing the variable however I want to do it right there. So a for loop is exactly the same as a while loop, but it has it all packaged nicely for you. So once again, the first part is initializing any variables you want. The second part is absolutely required, and you have to have the Boolean expression of true and false. And the last part is the optional incrementing or decrementing.